Shrek Fairytale Freakdown is a fighting game. That's the genre it technically falls under. It came out in 2001 for the Game Boy Color, after the Game Boy Advance was already on shelves, and after we, as a society, had already agreed on what basic human rights should look like. It features no multiplayer, no move variety, no functional combat system, but it does feature Shrek, and he looks like he just got back from a war no one talks about. This is Shrek Fairytale Freakdown, and we're going to talk about it. But to understand how we got here, we need to go back to a time when Shrek was king and licensing deals were signed without reading the fine print. The year was 2001. DreamWorks had just released Shrek, and it was a hit, a massive one. Oscar winning, franchise launching, merchandising gold kind of hit. Naturally, there were video games. Some of them were passable, others not so much. Shrek Fairytale Freakdown was one of the first, and it wasn't developed for PlayStation or PC. It was made for the Game Boy Color, which for context had already been replaced by the Game Boy Advance. The studio responsible was Prolific Publishing, a name that's both ironic and accurate depending on how you define publishing. The game was slapped together, licensed out by TDK Mediactive, and dumped onto shelves as fast as humanly possible. It's a tie-in through and through, not because it celebrates the movie, but because it tries to monetize it while doing the absolute bare minimum. And if you think that setup sounds bad, just wait until you actually play it. Calling this game a fighting game is generous. On paper, Shrek Fairytale Freakdown is a 1 vs 1 fighting game. You pick a character, go head to head against another fairy tale freak, and whittle down a health bar. But that's where the resemblance ends. The gameplay loop is mashing the punch button faster than the AI and hoping your opponent forgets how to walk forward. There is a jump button, but there's noticeable delay between the input and the action, and the hitboxes make aerial attacks functionally useless. Most fights are just foot races to see who can land the first combo and keep the pressure on. It's like Dive Kick if Dive Kick was worse in every measurable way. Well, maybe we'll see this game at EVO next year. Actually, no we won't, because there's no multiplayer. The one thing you'd expect a fighting game to have, and it's just not here. That's right, Fairytale Freakdown is a solo-only experience. No link cable support, no versus mode, no human competition. It's just you versus the CPU forever.
Forever! 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 Forever!
But hey, maybe the character roster brings something interesting to the table. Spoiler, it doesn't. The full roster includes Shrek, Fiona, Lord Farquaad, Gingerbread Man, Dragon, Monsieur Hood, Big Bad Wolf, Pinocchio, and Thelonious. There's no real reason behind the lineup. You've got leads, side characters, and background extras all mixed in like they were picked out of a hat. Donkey isn't playable, but the Big Bad Wolf is, and he fights by waddling forward with his fists up like a tiny, angry toddler. Thelonious is here too. You know, the guy who said nothing throughout the whole movie. DreamWorks really went deep into the lore for this one. But if you thought the characters looked weird on paper, wait until you actually see them in motion. Visually, it's rough, even for the Game Boy Color. Characters are stiff, with limited frames and awkward movement. There's no visual feedback on attacks, no flashes, no recoil, no weight. And then there's Shrek. Shrek has the look of a man who's seen things. His sprite is locked into a permanent 1,000-yard stare, like he's watched every frame of this game get programmed in real time and lost his soul somewhere around the main menu. This is a man who regrets saying yes to the licensing deal. Backgrounds are static and lifeless, usually a blurry mess of castles, forests, or swamp tiles. There's maybe one animation total in each arena. It all adds up to a game that looks bad, feels bad, and makes you wonder if the dev team had ever actually played a fighting game before. But let's not stop there. This thing has modes, technically. This is where the game pretends it has depth. There are 3 modes. Play Game, which is just arcade mode with no story. Practice, which is about as useful as a wet napkin in a knife fight. And the password system, which honestly feels like a cruel joke. Let's break it down. For arcade mode, you pick a character, you fight through the rest of them. No cutscenes, no dialogue, just a password after each win. It's so short you'll finish it in one sitting, assuming your thumb survived the button mashing. For practice mode, it's a rudimentary setup. Random stage, random opponent, knock them out, and the game just loads a new one. No move list, no guidance, no real way to improve. It's the same game, just slightly less angry at you. The next mechanic to talk about is the power-ups mechanic, which, if you win enough points, you unlock one of 3 temporary boosts that activate when your health hits half, and a little P starts flashing. They last about 4 seconds and don't carry over between playthroughs. Meanwhile, the CPU gets to use them all the time, even before you've unlocked them. It's like giving the AI cheat codes and handing you a sticky note with instructions on how to lose slowly. And the options menu. Despite the name, there's only one option: difficulty. Easy, medium, or hard. That's it. That's the entire options screen. And just when you think the mechanics are the low point, the game starts making noises. You ever see Shrek stare into your soul? The backgrounds are muddy, the sprites are stiff, the animations look like they were drawn during a lunch break. Most of the characters move like they're wading through molasses. And Shrek, the flagship character, looks like he just came back from active duty. He's got the 1,000-yard stare of a man who's seen things no ogre should ever see, like the rest of this game. But if you think the graphics are bad, wait until you hear it. The sound design is somehow worse. Every hit sounds like a wet slap against a chalkboard. The music loops in tinny, disjointed spurts. There are long stretches of silence broken only by a random punch sound effect that feels borrowed from a completely different game. There's no voice acting, no themes, just shrill background noise and the slow erosion of your patience. It's not just bad audio design, it's anti-audio design. Like the developers added sound reluctantly, knowing silence would have been kinder. So with graphics and audio down the drain, how did the game land with critics? Well, exactly how you'd expect. The critics spoke, and they were not kind. Shrek Fairytale Freakdown didn't exactly make waves. Players ignored it. There's no scene, no following, no nostalgia. Just one lonely game FAQs guide, written by someone in 2018 who may or may not have been a ghost. And if that person's watching this, I hope you're doing okay. This isn't a cult classic. It's not so bad it's good, it's just bad. Remembered only because of the massive disconnect between the movie's quality and whatever this was supposed to be. It's less a game and more of a weird footnote, a reminder that licensed shovelware really did peak in the early 2000s. And somehow, against all odds, this isn't even the worst Shrek game ever made, but that's a story for another time. This game should not exist, and yet, it does. Fairytale Freakdown feels like a dare, a fighting game with no multiplayer, a practice mode that teaches you nothing, and a password system that's both pointless and inconvenient. The characters are awkward, the visuals are broken, the audio is offensive, and Shrek himself, he has a 1,000-yard stare of a man who's seen every unsold cartridge buried in a landfill in New Mexico. It is technically a video game, but only just. You could say it's a product of its time, but even in a sea of lazy cash grabs, this one still manages to sink. So, should you play Shrek Fairytale Freakdown? No, you should absolutely not. But if you do, just know that somewhere out there, a single game FAQs guide is waiting for you, and it probably knows more about this game than anyone should.